I remember for New Year's Eve, like there was so much gunfires and people didn't know how to shoot guns because people were not allowed to have guns, and from the Civil War, people had access to guns. And I remember for New Year's Eve, my parents made us sleep under the bed because they were afraid like a blind bullet would shoot us.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Underdog Podcast. Today, I have an incredible guest here with me, Marsilda. How are you?
And hi, everyone. This is Marsilda Bialczak. I traveled from New Hampshire today just to have this podcast with this beautiful girl.
I absolutely adore you. I absolutely adore you. I remember when I met you for the first time, I'm like, she's such a burst of energy and light. And she's Albanian, so like I already was automatically. We had a lot to talk about, massive connection. And so I'm so excited to have you here today and to really talk about your journey because you've had quite the journey.
Yeah,
Before we get into all of that, what really inspired you on your journey to where you are today?
Like, where do I begin? So we all have like things that happen in our life that leads to something, and something leads to something that makes where we are and what we are today. I actually grew up in Albania. For those that don't know, it's a small country in Europe next to Greece and Croatia, not Alabama, because I know some people think I'm from Alabama. No, it's Albania. But where we're from, we always thought the name of the country was 𝗘𝗀𝗃𝗃. That's how we recognize it. And, like, I just had a simple life. My goal in life was just, like, maybe to become a translator. I loved English, so I studied English since I was small. And I had every opportunity I would have to maybe take extra courses. My parents would not send me to ballet or piano lessons, but they'll send me to those English courses just because they thought that was the future. And, oh, boy, they were right. Because, knowing a different language, especially English, globally, it gives you so much opportunity. So even though Albania during the times where I grew up went through so much change, and maybe some of the people recognize it from the Civil War and all the war that happened in Kosovo, and as a kid it kind of like affected me in a way, but also not to the point how people think, because when you're a kid you don't know what's going on, and my parents did such a great job to like not show that. I remember when the Civil War started, there was literally gunfires outside. And all I cared is like, we don't have school, yay!
Right, you're like,
because that's what I cared when I was a kid. And I remember for almost like an entire year in my elementary school, we didn't have school because there was literally gunfire outside. There was no law or order. I remember for New Year's Eve, like there was so much gunfires and people didn't know how to shoot guns because people were not allowed to have guns. And from the Civil War, people had access to guns. And I remember for New Year's Eve, my parents made us sleep under the bed because they were afraid like a blind bullet would shoot us. And I know like it's not what people want to hear, but for me, like I was scared. I kind of like knew deep down what was going on, but as a kid, I would just see like the bright side. I'm like, oh, like I wish this goes longer so I don't have school. I know it's terrible, but that taught me how like life can be so unpredictable, and really like taught me to really appreciate not just like where I am, but your journey, your parents, your family, and just keep going, because sometimes we don't know where we'll become or where we'll be in 10 years, but by you just like studying something, learning something, and just keep forward, being positive, it sends you somewhere else. So to me, it sent me like going to college in Albania. I was going to the capital, Tirana. My goal at that time was I want to be a translator, interpreter. I want to travel the world. But never in my life I thought that I'll be where I am today. So I guess a little bit different.
I love that. You mentioned a couple different things which are amazing. So first off, we both come from Albania, which is amazing. So what a lot of people don't know is that Albania was a communist country until the collapse in 1991, which happens to be when I was born. In 91, and I remember like being a young kid, and like my grandmother, like I would run up to the windows like at nighttime just because like we weren't allowed to go outside, and I was like, well, what's going on outside that I can't go outside, like what is going on? And I remember I would go to the window and she would pull me back and she'd like, stop it because they'll shoot. And I was like,
it was scary times, and not just that, but even the 97, even when the genocide in Kosovo happened, my family, which I'm so blessed, hopefully I don't get emotional with this, but we helped so many like Kosovo families they were like homeless. Like their relatives probably were killed. I remember I helped a mom and her 4 kids. We had like an extra apartment, so we gave it to her for free, give her food and shelter because she had no idea where her family was and she didn't know if her husband was alive. So these were the stories that we grew up, and that's why the Albanians are so goddamn strong and nothing like. We're not afraid of it. We're not afraid of COVID. We're not afraid of like even when we hear like gun shooting and stuff because I'm like, well, have you been in Albania in the 90s? So this is what we grew up with and the culture. So just like through all those drama and history like that we went through, I think it made us stronger.
Right.
And to just fight for ourselves and for our rights.
Right, absolutely. And I mean, not only that, but having an opportunity to come to the United States, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like you said, Albanians are so damn strong. Like, everyone's like, you guys are so, like...
Stubborn. We're stubborn.
Stubborn, and we're hardworking, and, like, it's, like, nothing because we've been through so much as a people, as a country, and all of that, and now kind of anything that we see here is almost like,
oh,
this is nothing. Like...
This is nothing.
You know, and it's like when you talk about your family housing these Kosovo refugees, pretty much, and that's almost like what's happening in Ukraine right now, which is crazy, right?
Yeah,
it's like
that's why it's so
itself.
like relatable in a way. It makes you like emotional thinking about it. Because I remember sometimes coming from school, and I would knock the door of my own house, and it'll be a stranger with wet hair because he just took a shower, and I'll be like, "Am I in the right house?" And he'll be like, "Who is this?" I'm like, "Mom." And then my mom, it was another family that she helped bring home, wash them, give them new clothes, give them food because they were in these camps for months. Like they had like fleas and this and that. Like it was terrible, you know, seeing that. But my mom, like she's originally from Kosovo, so my grandparents moved to Albania when my mom was small. So I guess like that maybe was something addition to us really feeling like these people were basically our friends and relatives. But I think all Albanians, not just us, all Albanians like really like open doors. I had stories of like my family members that had like just a 2-bedroom apartment and they had already like a big family and they would just like have extra people even to sleep on the floor to share the soup or the fasule, but just to like open arms and like bring them like we have hospitality is our thing. Like,
it is.
It's hard and like people don't realize it until they come to our house for visit. They're like, I thought this was like a get together. Why am I having lunch? So this is like I guess our advantage that we're really known of. So hopefully we're recognized for the goods and not the bads of the history that we have done.